This is my demonstration video of teaching using mnemonics for a math strategy for solving word problems. This is a mnemonic CUBS that I'm using at a first grade level of math problems for practice because those are my students. And I will also show it used at a 9th grade level after my demonstration video with my student. But it can be adapted for any level of word problem, and the mnemonic still works, which is why I've chosen it for this project. I will be adding on top of that explicit instruction doing an I do, we do, you do with my student. Special thanks to my dad for playing the student. So today we're going to learn how to use a strategy for solving word problems. And we call the strategy CUBS, C-U-B-S, because it has 4 steps with 1 letter for each step. Okay? So first I'm going to show you each letter and tell you what it stands for and what you do with it. And then I'll show you how to do it with a word problem. Then we'll do one together, and then you do one by yourself. Okay? Alright, so CUBS is steps for doing the word problem. It's not going to help you do the math part. The math part is the easy part. That's at the end. But it's going to help you get the information you need from the word problem to do the math. Okay? So the first step is C for circle. And the first thing you're going to do when you look at a word problem is you're going to circle the numbers. And then you can transfer the numbers down here if you want. I'll show you when I do it. Okay? Second step, U is for underline. And there goes my phone. Alright, we're going to underline the units, as in what we're talking about. Because, as we would have discussed already in class, numbers are never just numbers, they're counting something. And so we always have to have units. So U is for underline and U is for units. We're going to underline the units because it's part of your answer. Alright, B is for boxing. And we're going to box our clue words, which, as you recall, we've also talked about. And the clue words will help us tell us whether we're going to do adding or subtracting or whatever. And then the last step is the easy step, my favorite step, because once you've extracted all this information, you can solve. And the solving part is easy. Okay?
CUBS.
CUBS, yeah. So, I will do one. You can watch me do it. I'm going to go through all the steps and explain my thinking while I do it. Okay? So first step, we don't have a letter for that, but is you have to read the problem, obviously. So, you have 7 balloons, and your friend has 5 balloons. How many more balloons do you have than your friend? So I'm thinking, oh no, that's a bunch of words, and I don't know what that means. So, okay, I'm going to use CUBS. So, I'll look at that first letter is C, and I have to circle, what am I circling? I'm circling the numbers. So here I go, I'm going to circle 7. And 5, and look carefully, I don't see any more numbers. Okay, I've circled my numbers. Now to make it easy for myself, I'm going to write them down here. Because I see them, I know I'm going to have to use them. Alright. Next is the U, underlining units. What are we talking about in this problem? We're not talking about puppies, there's no cookies. Okay, we're talking about balloons. So I'm going to underline the balloons so I don't forget that we're talking about balloons.
One more balloon there.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I've just underlined it all 3 times to really, okay, it's definitely balloons. We see that all over in here. All right. Now I'm going to box my clue words. This is perhaps the trickiest part of CUBS. I'm looking, I see more, so I'm going to check. Ooh, it says how many more, and I know that those 3 words together are a clue. And that means minus. So that means I could put my minus in here, because I already know it's going to be minus. Alright. Now, I'm to solve. Solve is easy. 7 minus 5 is 2. I know that already. I don't need to think about it. And then last step, 2. Oh, teacher always yells at me about this. I'm counting something. What am I counting? I remember, I underlined it already. Balloons. So, our answer is 2 balloons. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to do one together. I'm going to ask you to tell me what to do each step. And then you can help me solve it. And then you're going to do one by yourself. Okay, so here's my problem. What do I need to do first before I do anything? With a word problem?
Read it.
Yeah, I gotta read. There you go. Yes, I need to read it. Okay. 2 birds were sitting on a fence. 4 more birds came to join them. How many birds are sitting on the fence? Okay, now I read it. I have some idea. Birds, okay. So we can start with cubs. What do I do first?
Well, the C
Mm-hmm.
stands for, I forgot what C stands for.
So I'm going to do something. I'm going to circle.
Count?
Circle.
Circle.
Circle,
Okay.
what am I going to circle?
The,
You can look at what I did in my problem and see what I
yeah,
did. So what
you
did
circled the numbers.
Ah, good, okay. So here I circle. And what do I do with the numbers?
A 2 and a 4.
What did I do with my numbers once I circled them?
Well, you wrote them down here under the problem.
Okay, good. So that way I know they're there and I don't have to look around again. Okay, next. We finished C, done. Now what?
Underline,
Underline, what am I underlining?
you're underlining the units,
Mm-hmm.
which are birds.
Good. Great. Then what? We're done with you.
Then B is for I forgot what B stands for.
Look at what I did here. So what
Well,
did I do?
know, I saw what you did.
Right, so
it's,
what did I do?
It's the operation, the phrase,
Your clue words.
the clue word.
Right, but what did I do to the clue words? I put
Boxed
it in
it.
a
So you put box.
Yeah.
You box the. In this case, how many?
This is here. How many
How
more?
many
So let's look.
birds join?
Okay.
No, how many birds?
So which would be our clue word? Not the whole phrase,
many?
but the word.
How many?
Mm,
How many? No, more.
yeah, good. More. And what
And
else?
how many?
Join, I would say.
How many? Oh, more.
These are
join.
going to tell us what we're going to do, not the question, which is different. But
Okay.
you got the idea. You got more here.
Well, that's interesting because you could circle it and then think you were doing subtraction. Like.
Well, the point here is that how many more itself is a clue word. Because this doesn't
Right.
say how many more,
Oh,
does
okay,
it?
all right.
Okay, it just says
yeah.
how many, which
How
is
many
different.
birds, yeah.
Yeah. So our clue words here are more and join, though that's a good point you came up with. What does that tell us we're going to do?
Addition.
Good. So we put a plus. We're done with boxing. Now what?
Well, then you do the arithmetic. 2 plus 4 equals.
Yeah, but what does S
So
stand
that's
for?
solution.
Solution or solve, I guess, yeah, okay. 2 plus 4 is what? I know you know that.
6. Last time I checked.
Okay, good. And then 6, what? What are we talking about?
Birds.
Good, because we underlined it here, so we know. Okay, great. Now for this student who doesn't remember the steps of cubs, I would do this several more times, but he's going to do one by himself now so we don't run over time.
Well,
Okay, here you go. So I'll start you off by asking what you do first.
okay. C is for circle.
Now, what do you do before you start circling
Read
anything?
it. Read it.
Yeah,
You
good.
have 7. You need an R in there.
Cubs.
You have 7 cookies and you ate 2 of them. How many cookies are left? So I circled the 2 numbers involved, 7 and 2, and then I write them down under here. And then the unit is cookies, I underline cookies. U stands for both unit and underline. How about that?
Exactly, yes. That's why I put it on you.
And then B is the boxing and the
Clue words.
clue words and how many?
Does it say how many more?
No, it says how many are left.
So
Left.
how many? Yeah, you go left. Good.
Left, but I mean.
It's not a clue word unless it says how many more.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Well, because all right.
Because how many more always means subtraction, whereas how many could be subtraction or addition or multiplication or division.
All right. So that's.
Okay. So
means
we know.
Left means that you subtract.
Yes.
7 minus 2, and the solution is 5. And it's 5 cookies.
Yay! The great thing about this strategy is that it's applicable all the way up to a higher reading level, and it can be used with higher math or problem-solving skills. This demonstration just gives you an idea of how the mnemonic works. At a higher level, the letter E can be added to the mnemonic, making it cubes, so students have a step that includes E for eliminate unnecessary information. I'm going to show you guys a quick example of me using it with a 9th grade word problem. I won't be using a student, but it's just a way to show how it can be adapted and changed for different levels. Okay, so here is my 9th grade example of using cubs to show you guys how you can adapt this to older level math problems. I don't have a 9th grade student, and I wanted to add this after I'd already recorded with my dad and I didn't want to bother him again. So there's no student for this part, but hopefully this can show you how it can be changed for any level of math. So here I have my math problem, like you might get on a test, and I would put my Cubs logo here to show and remind the student that they can use this strategy for all of the word problems that would be on this worksheet or test. We'll start by just diving into it. So the first thing you do with Cubs is you read the whole problem before you start underlining or circling or boxing or solving, obviously. So we'll read the problem first, and then I will go through the steps in an I do sort of way to show you how it can be used for this as well. So here we are, number 1. A car travels from A to B at a speed of 40 miles per hour and then returns using the same road from B to A at a speed of 60 miles per hour. What is the average speed for the round trip? Okay, so we're seeing one of our standard, a car traveling X miles an hour from point blah blah to point blah blah here, and there are a lot of ways that this problem could go. So our student needs to use Cubs. We need to use Cubs. I'm not sure how to solve this. So first things first, I'm going to look at my big first step, the C here, and I'm going to color it red, like the C. What am I going to circle? I circle the numbers. So I look carefully, and I circle our 2 numbers here. Great, and I can put them down here as well, because we're going to do something with them. We don't know what yet, but I'm going to write them down so I don't forget. Okay, next step is to underline. And we're going to do underline blue. What are we going to underline? We're going to underline our units. U for underline, U for units. What's unit? It's what we're talking about in the problem. No number is just a number in space. Numbers always represent something. What are we representing here? Well, we're not talking about dogs or ponies or apples or even time. We're talking about miles per hour, which is how fast the car is going. So I'm going to underline my units, which are miles per hour. Next step is to box. Now, what do we box? Here we are at B. What do we box? We box our clue words. Now, reading carefully, going through the problem carefully, I don't see any of the usual clue words like how many more or distribute evenly or anything like that. But I do remember that we've been studying average and how to find an average. And so our clue of what we're going to do is average. And so I put that into a box. Finally, I've reached S, which is the easy step of the problem, and that means I can solve. Now, to solve, I have to remember what we do for an average, using our 2 numbers that we've found here. I remember that for an average, we need to add first. So we have our 2 numbers ready here. We got them ready. So we're going to add. And 40 plus 60 is 100. Okay, but averaging, our clue word here, has more than one step. So what do we need to do next? Well, we need to divide. That's our second step. So we put 100 divided by what? When we average, we need to look at how many numbers we used. And that's easy when we do Cubs because we can see those nice big red circles. How many big red circles do we see? We see 2. So we're going to divide 100 by 2, and we get 50. And we can't forget, at the end, what are we talking about? We're not talking about numbers in space. We are talking about a unit. And luckily we underlined that with our second step, the U. We underlined miles per hour, and so we put that here. And there you have it. We have solved the problem for using cubs. Now the thing you have to realize about this though is that your students, to do this problem, they still have to know what an average is. This mnemonic does not teach them how to do different operations like an average, or even how to add and subtract for their first grade example. So this is just a way for a student to look at a problem like this, which seems like a pile of words that may be difficult to understand, and create some kind of math problem using functions that you have already taught. Be very clear on that. You have to teach how to do an average before you start doing this. Okay? So here we are for a 9th grade problem using cubs. The intensive part of this instruction, especially with younger kids who are newer to math, is making sure that they know the clue words for solving problems. The B step, boxing clue words. The reason I made this video with my father and not my student was because the student simply was not ready to do cubs. He was still learning to recognize clue words that make this strategy work. Students will need a lot of time and instruction to memorize and integrate these clues and which operation they stand for. This is especially true with students who are learning or struggling to read. I had to do a quick refresher prep with my father to make sure he knew what I meant. But he was very good at clue words once he knew what that was. All that you need to do this is some sort of graphic for the mnemonic cubs. When I do this with my first grader, we use cards with the letters on them so he can pick them up and move them around to show that he's finished with each step. Here they are, C, U, B, S. But this can also be a poster on the wall, or printed on top of student work, or put into a hint card. Another helpful graphic organizer, or poster, to go with this strategy is one with the clue words split into which operation they usually represent.